Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a look at a story that, on the surface, well, it's about a dog. But when you look a little closer, it's an absolute masterclass in cinematic storytelling. I mean, it literally has everything. We're talking soaring loyalty, a devastating turning point, a dark night of the soul, and ultimately, a beautiful redemption. We're going to break down the actual mechanics of this narrative, how it uses pacing, visual contrast, and emotional hooks to pull us in completely. We're examining the true story of Max, the dog nobody wanted. And I really want you to pay close attention to how the information unfolds today, because the way this story is structured, it's exactly how the best movies captivate an audience. They told the old dog he was no longer needed, so they left him behind. What he did the next morning made the entire town cry. Right here, this is our cold open. In film, a cold open immediately grabs the viewer by presenting a mystery or massive emotional spike before the title even rolls. We don't yet know who the dog is, we don't know who left him, or why the town is crying, but we are instantly emotionally invested. It's a brilliant hook that guarantees we are absolutely going to stick around to uncover the truth of that morning.
Okay, let's dive into this. Every great story needs a baseline. In Hollywood, this is Act 1, where we establish the normal world and the character's core identity. Notice how this timeline maps out 12 long years. For 12 years, Max waited by the front door every single morning. He greeted the kids before school, in the afternoon, he welcomed Dad home from work, and at night, he protected the family through every storm. This isn't just a list of chores, it establishes Max's fundamental motivation, unwavering devotion. When you spend 12 years defining your entire existence by your family, that loyalty becomes the anchor of the narrative. We understand exactly who Max is.
Now, in any cinematic story, the inciting incident shatters that normal world. Just look at the stark, brutal contrast we're presented with here. On one side, we have a literal lifetime, 12 years of protection and loyalty. On the other side, the devastating reality. As Max grew older, he naturally became slower. And one day, the family packed their car and just drove away without him. Notice the absolute absence of action from our protagonist here. Max didn't bark, he didn't chase them, he just sat there watching the only family he had ever known disappear. That visual contrast perfectly mirrors the emotional shock of the moment. And this brings us right into the second act, the classic dark night of the soul. The next morning, instead of acting on pure survival instinct and running off to search for food, Max acts on character. He acts on loyalty. Let's walk through this journey together. Step 1, he walked 3 miles back to the old neighborhood. I mean, just think about the profound physical toll that takes on an old, slow dog. Step 2, he quietly sat on the front porch. And step 3, he waited patiently for his family to return. By breaking this down into deliberate steps, the story consciously slows down the pacing of the narrative. We actually feel the grueling physical journey and the profound isolating silence of that empty front porch. Notice how these very specific actions build up the tension. Good filmmakers operate on the rule of show, don't tell, and these details perfectly capture that visceral, heartbreaking hope. We aren't just told Max was sad, we see it in his actions. He didn't bark at all, but every passing car made his tail wag, every single sound made him lift his head, but nobody came. And notice that last point. Neighbors watched from their windows, and some literally couldn't stop crying. In storytelling, these neighbors act as the audience surrogate. They're reacting exactly how we're reacting, helplessly witnessing this tragic, agonizing wait. But then, the energy completely shifts. We enter Act 3, the rescue. Just when the isolation seems totally unbearable, a new character enters the frame. A little girl walked up to him with a peanut butter sandwich. It is such a wonderfully specific cinematic detail, isn't it? It's not some grand, dramatic rescue with sirens blazing. It's a quiet, intimate moment of kindness centered around a simple, everyday object. This single peanut butter sandwich shifts the entire trajectory of the story, from total despair to sudden, bright hope. She gently hugged his neck and whispered, "You don't have to wait alone anymore." Max rested his head on her shoulder for the very first time since being abandoned. Just think about the physical release in that moment. It was as if he finally understood. Someone actually still cared. This quote is the true emotional climax of our story. It directly answers the deep isolation we established back in Act 2. The waiting was finally over. Now, what's really interesting about this next part is how this story scales up for its resolution. A photo of Max and the little girl spread like wildfire across the internet, and within hours, thousands of people offered to adopt him. This acts as the denouement of our cinematic arc. The injustice of his abandonment was so profoundly wrong that the larger world, thousands of people, rushed in to try and correct it. The stakes went from one lonely front porch to a massive, global outpouring of support. But our story doesn't end with those thousands of strangers. It ends right back where the healing started. When all those offers poured in, the little girl looked at her parents and delivered this incredibly profound line. He already found his family. The narrative arc is officially complete. That night, Max slept peacefully in a warm home again. The tension is entirely resolved. The loyal dog who lost his purpose found a new one, and not through some grand sweeping gesture from thousands of people, but through the quiet, steadfast love of one little girl. So what does this all mean? This brings us to our thematic takeaway. Great cinema doesn't just tell you what happened. It tells you why it matters. Sometimes the people who leave you behind make room for the ones who will love you forever. Max's story resonates so deeply with us because it touches on a very universal human truth. We all experience loss. We all experience moments of abandonment or feeling like we've been left behind. But this story reframes that pain not as an ending, but as the painful, necessary space created for true belonging to finally enter our lives. Which leads me to leave you with this final thought. Think about the cast of characters in the movie of your own life. Who in your life made room for the ones who will love you forever? Take a moment to just reflect on that. Because sometimes the hardest part of our story is really just the setup for the best chapter we could have ever imagined.